Hello, nice to have your company on Racing360. On this edition of the show, we preview two of the biggest days in Australian racing, starting with Victoria Derby Day tomorrow and the $6 million Emirates Melbourne Cup next Tuesday. Joining me on the program is Jason Tan, as always, and Michael Cox from the South China Morning Post Racing section is also our special guest. How are you both?
Very good indeed, Joe. Looking forward to one of the big races on the Southern Hemisphere racing calendar, as you mentioned. Shame we can't get one of the big meetings in the Northern Hemisphere in Hong Kong from the United States, the Breeders' Cup meeting, but looking forward to the four Group 1s on the Saturday, firstly on Derby Day at Flemington.
It is the day of racing, Derby Day, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah, forget Santa Anita. I want to be at Flemington. Four Group 1s, we'll see them all and preview them all today. I can't wait.
All right, and of course the Melbourne Cup next Tuesday, in which Hong Kong will have a significant influence this year. We'll talk about that a little later on the show. So Victoria Derby Day tomorrow, coming to you live in Hong Kong. You'll see the four Group 1s, including the Derby, which is going to be run at midday. Do not miss the Derby. The Coolmore Stud Stakes starts off our coverage at 20 minutes past 10. They'll run that race. That's the Group 1 sprint down the straight, and the other Group 1, the Maya Classic, at 12:45. Also taking in feature races, the Yellow Glen Stakes and the Chatham Stakes. So a big day of racing from Flemington headquarters in Melbourne tomorrow. Well, this is the field that will contest this year's running of the Victoria Derby. The best 3-year-olds in the land to run to the post, and the hot favourite, It's a Done Deal. Is it a done deal? We'll talk more about that in a minute.
Yeah, interesting market moves against the horse. Was even money and even odds on a couple of weeks ago. Managed to win the Spring Champion Stakes in Sydney. Was a rather dominant performance, and from there everyone sort of said that this is the horse that they're going to have to beat with a view to the Victoria Derby. James McDonald really punching this horse out. Needs to be balanced in the straight, was this day. Did some of the lustre go off this horse after the last start though, Michael?
Oh, I think so. In the betting markets, he drifted. He was odds on pre-post for the Derby before last week's surprise defeat. But I think there's a tendency to want to pick holes in him because he was such an odds-on favourite. I think the run was still great. He got a long way back. Tactically, it didn't suit, and Moonee Valley didn't suit. We saw then his need to be able to balance up and spot the target. He didn't get a chance to do that at Moonee Valley. I think he will at Flemington.
His trainer, Murray Baker, no stranger to Derby success. He won the race 2 years ago with the late Lion Tamer, and It's a Done Deal has the pedigree to suggest that he is a prime Derby hope. Side by High Chaparral, who produced the winner of the race, Monaco Consul, a couple of years ago.
And the way that he races as well suggests that he's going to have no problem getting the 2,500 metres. Big moment for James McDonald, a massive 12 months. Around this time last year, James was all set to ride Sangster, the horse that went on to win the Derby, but got axed because of a poor ride a couple of weeks earlier at Caulfield. Since then, he's won 6 Group 1s in New Zealand, 2 in Australia and 1 here in Hong Kong, and he really wants to add the Derby to his riding resume.
I think he's got an affinity with this horse too, and he's described the horse as having a real X-factor and star quality. I see that, but he's also got the pedigree and background to be able to run the trip as well, not only by High Chaparral, but out of his Isabelle mare.
New Zealand bred horses certainly dominate the Victoria Derby, winning the majority of the races over the past couple of years. Is Super Cool the horse to bring It's a Done Deal under?
Yeah, well, we spoke about this race, Joe, and this was a tactically well thought out ride from Michael Rodd, and you can see It's a Done Deal laying up or looking like he's going to lay up to the horse, but it takes 100 metres to get balanced. We've spoken about this, and visually it looks like he's come to the end of his run. It's a Done Deal, but actually went about a half a length faster the last 1,600 metres of that race. But I think both are leading chances.
I see it playing out in a similar way again, but this time it's further, and maybe Super Cool be in front at the clock tower with It's a Done Deal, just closing him with that bit more time and length of straight to catch him.
Mark Kavanagh is the trainer of Super Cool, a horse that's come a long way in a short time. Let's hear his thoughts.
Really well, Alf. He's improved a bit since that run, and he should be at his peak on Saturday.
You said from a tactical point of view you were really pleased with Michael's rod on Saturday. Why?
Well, we've just noticed in the videos that that It's a Done Deal just needed to flatten out and straighten up and balance before he could really run home hard, and we thought that we'd put him under pressure around the bend at Moonee Valley, and it worked.
This week you go to your home track, Flemington. Does that suit better?
Well, I hope so. Look, he's a big horse and look, he got around the valley all right, but I think Flemington would probably suit him better. It's just the point whether he's going to, get the 2500 as strong as the others.
I know it's always hard to know whether they can get it, but what's your gut feeling tell you?
Well, my gut feeling was he would get it, but I thought the same with Who Got You, but he got it, but one got it better than him. So, you just got to wait and see on the day. It's no good getting ahead of yourself.
So is that the impression and the feeling you take with you going into the Derby?
Yeah, that's, just present them as good as you can on the day and hope that they get a good run and stay the trip.
Super cool on the back up from his Vars win at Moonee Valley last Saturday. Havaston also coming through a key lead-up race, the Norman Robinson on Caulfield Cup Day. The winner of this and very impressive.
This is a really messy race, wasn't it? And you can see Havaston winning the race. Honorius was promoted into second. Electric Fusion was, I thought, a really good effort, apart from being wayward.
Another one to look out for here, just fourth, flashing home late there. You see Subiase. He might be a roughie. I haven't got him in my numbers, but maybe one for the trifecta.
Blanket finish, what do you make of it? I just don't know what to make of that particular race and the strength of it. I think it rates maybe below what's required.
Well, there's always this question of Norman Robinson versus the Vars form coming into the Derby. I like the Vars more this year. The Vars in the last 10 years has been stronger. 7 of the last 10 winners tend to go that way again. And I've got some doubts about Havastan. As much as he is a fighter and there's a lot of tenacity in that win, I don't know that he'll stay.
Yeah. Well, the horse that was upgraded to second placing behind Havastan in the Norman Robinson Stakes was Honorius, his rider, Corey Brown.
He went sort of a mile 3/4 and just let him breeze home from the 600. He was really good. Alf, I was happy. He obviously got round Flemington quite A-OK. He's well within himself. I reckon he's come on a little bit since he run at Caulfield, where he was luckless to run second. So, yeah, look, stepping onto the big track here at Flemington, the way that he goes about things, he's very relaxed. So I've got no doubt that he'll see the trip out.
He does look very relaxed in that track, Callum.
Yeah, and really like the way his pedigree sort of stacks up with regards to him getting a 2,500 metre Derby trip.
Yeah, I like the way that they've just had this race earmarked for him from a long way out, and there's just no doubt that he'll stay. I think that's the question with all of these horses. Unknown territory, first time at the trip so early in the season. I've got him in my numbers for sure.
There's a number of maiden horses running in tomorrow's Derby, including Malabar Man from the Mick Kent stable.
Yeah, Malabar Man comes off this Geelong Classic performance, second to a horse that unfortunately comes out of the race, or got taken out of the race earlier in the Darley Killers there that won it. Really like the run of Our Desert Warrior. Got into a horrible place at the 600 metre point. We'll hear from Gay Waterhouse very shortly, but I know he's beaten a long way in that video, and you're sort of saying, oh, how can that horse turn it around on the others that finished in front? But I think the horse potentially can if ridden more to favour.
Absolutely, and there's no reason why maidens or horses in their first prep can't win this race. I mean, for mine, Malabar Man, he's coming in on his first prep, and in that race, he just found the front a little bit too early. We saw G-Boss sort of looking around, looking for something to take him into it. He would have learned a lot about that, wouldn't he? No, Glenn Boss, not that he needs he's got so much experience, but he would have learned a lot about the horse. Well, I think Williams comes on now, and I think that's key as well. That to me, he's the horse with the upside, and one to throw in the numbers for sure. But Boss on Havastan will be watching very closely. He'll be one of the tag horses, won't he? Like, he'll sort of pick 2 or 3 out, and he'll be keeping an eye on Malabar Man.
Gay Waterhouse saddles up a Derby runner this year. It's a horse by the name of Our Desert Warrior. Gay winning this race a number of years ago with Nothing Like a Dame.
Alf, I thought that you were very observant making that comment. It's obvious the old jockey in you. No, they were terrific. And, one's a Group 1 performer, one I'm hoping to be a Group 1 performer. But I thought they worked lovely. I was really pleased with them.
For Our Desert Warrior, the distance, the 2,500 of the Derby, is it perfect at this stage?
Absolutely perfect. He's a bit mentally immature. He's a bit of a geek. But I'm telling you, he's got that much ability, it's not funny. And his run at Geelong was enormous. And Nash said to me after, he said, do you realise my saddle broke? Which, of course, I didn't. So I think it was even better than it looks on paper.
Gay Waterhouse describing our Desert Warrior as a bit of a geek. Will the geek come good on Saturday?
Well, yes, you'll want him to come good, I'm sure. I think the horse has a lot of ability. In fact, I've included the horse in top 3 selections because it was at odds of around 20 to 1 and a little bit more in some places in overseas markets. It's a done deal on top. Super Cool I put in for second. It's a done deal at 2 to 1 is very backable, and I've noted that, well, we've swept with that horse on top.
Well, I think he's got out to backable odds at the quote he's at now. Everyone seems to have dropped off. I still thought it was a great Derby prep run. Long way back, and Honorius just for that staying ability, and Malabar Man with the potential to go a bit higher off the mark he's shown us already.
Favourites don't have a great record in the Victoria Derby, but we're all unanimous in thinking it's a done deal, as it pretty much wrapped up. It's a high-class stayer.
The straight will the Flemington straight will suit that horse absolutely down to the ground.
All right, time for us to take a break now on the show. As we go to a break, Hong Kong-based trainer David Hall, no stranger to Derby Day. He used to train his horses out of the Flemington base. Let's hear from him as we go to a break.
Yeah, look, I originally started in Adelaide before I moved to Melbourne, and I had a couple of winners at Cup Week. But the first visit I went there with a horse called Blue Boss and a filly called In the Bahamas, both won, and we sort of got a taste for what Cup Week was all about. It just seemed to all come together that week, and it was a pretty defining moment when I was, named champion trainer for the week in the committee room, and the likes of Bart Cummings and Peter Hayes and those sort of guys were there at the time, and all congratulating me. So, I certainly look back on it from time to time, and it's certainly something I'll never forget. The Melbourne Cup, I think, for any trainer or anybody involved in the racing industry, the Melbourne Cup's the pinnacle, it's the dream. It's something that we all chase from our childhood. Growing up in schools where, classes stopped and everyone's having their sweeps and so forth. So it's in the culture for Australians, and then obviously as we become more involved, and certainly as I became a trainer, it was something that you really want to experience and become part of. But winning it is even one step further.